My motto is breathe, move, eat, sleep, and love. So first and foremost, how are you breathing? And what can we do to make sure you're breathing effectively? Then we can look at different types of exercises, maybe that individual prefers, what their goals are. And then you can look at what's the food? What are we eating? What are we fueling our body with? If you're just going to be sitting at a chair all day, you probably shouldn't be putting all kinds of heavy calories on you, right? And then are we getting to sleep under a good hour? Are we staring at our screen right before we go to bed? And then lastly, I say love simply because we got to do what we love. We got to be around the people we love. And then we can take all these other things, getting outside in the sun and enjoying life kind of falls into that.
Of course, we start this podcast with Mose showing the guest his thighs and his gains. Mose is very happy about that stuff.
Very pleased.
But I think he's met his maker with the thighs. I'm not going to make Dave show his thighs off, but we were shooting for his website because he's launching a new website for his program. And I was astonished by the quality of his thighs. So is that from, I couldn't stop looking. Is that from the hockey you played growing up with the working out you do? Or do you think that they've taken another step of growth through, the training modalities you do?
That's hilarious. First of all, I didn't notice you noticing and you didn't say anything. I wouldn't have minded. But I think it's a combination of everything. I mean, people are genetically born with certain muscle disposition, right? And I naturally had kind of defined legs since I was a little kid. I played sports my whole life. I played soccer and hockey growing up my entire life, and I've trained forever. I've always been into fitness and really, really active. But I do have to say, over the last 5 or 10 years, when I've gotten a little bit more serious in my personal training and my journey into movement, I have seen even more kind of development through my thighs and my calves, especially. Yeah, maybe not bigger, but definitely more strength and stability, and more control ability, more movability within my legs. And I think as I get longer and more mobile or flexible, the muscles also look a little leaner and longer. So I think it's a combination of everything. I guess I answered that very longly, and it wasn't really a clear answer, but yeah, I think it's kind of everything, right? Like some people may be born with not so much definition in their legs, or in their muscle in general, and can be incredibly strong and incredibly mobile and do incredible things, right? Some of the worst fighters don't necessarily have the best looking bodies.
No, not at all. But before I want to jump into because I really wanted to have you on, because when we were shooting, you were talking a lot about, how living a healthy life can, it doesn't just change the way you move, but also changes the way you work sitting down, because a lot of us work sitting down, especially Mose and I, who I'm a videographer, editor, he's a graphic designer. Before I want to get into that kind of chat, I do want you to maybe introduce yourself a bit. What
Sure.
is it, even for Mose in the audience, what is it that you do and preach to your clients, and what's I guess your mission statement with the work you do?
Essentially what I do is try to bring people back to how we used to live as humans in today's kind of modern and digital age. I like to try to get people back to how we lived, and that means breathing better. That means moving more ancestrally, right? Getting on the floor. So you just mentioned you're in a chair all the time. Well, I'm sitting on the floor, right? I'm not sitting in a chair. I'm sitting on the floor while we do this interview. I'll stand at my desk. I try to sit down as little as possible to move more like we would have moved back a long, long time ago when our bodies were still functioning better. And then I also look at the food from that perspective too. And what did we evolve and thrive eating as humans? And how did we become the species, the super species we are, dominating the planet? So I try to come back to what we used to do. The further I got into this journey in health and wellness, so I'm certified as a primal health and wellness coach. I'm a functional mobility specialist through functional range conditioning. And I'm a breath instructor. I'm with Oxygen Advantage. So that's kind of my credentials. But the reason why I went down those paths was as I got deeper and deeper into my health and wellness, personal health and wellness journey, I found I kept going back to our roots. So the more I try to do more innovative muscle exercises at the gym, or using different equipment, or maybe incorporating new supplements or foods or different things to try to enhance my performance, I found I was always coming back to the way we used to do it. And that's kind of how my journey brought me to where I am today. And that's kind of what I preach to the people I teach. So whether you want to be an elite level athlete and perform at the highest level of humans in whatever field you choose, or you just want to feel good and go about your day to day, we all need that base to work from. And that's being the best human that you can be. And then you can go out and complement that with whatever activities you want to do. Does that make sense?
I wanted to pause on that sitting piece for people who wouldn't think about that so much. What are some of the dangers of sitting for, we'll call it even 4 to 6 hours a day?
Oh, well, first of all, your hips are in a compromised position right away. As soon as you sit in that hip flex position and you're relaxed, your hips are going to be kind of condensed right away. That little hip flexor that's going to open up your leg to help lift your leg up and down is going to be pinched all the time. So people that are living a sedentary lifestyle, 99% of the time, try to put them in a deep squat and there's no chance they're getting anywhere near there, right? Like, you know that, I'm sure, right? So I think the hips, the back as well, from kind of hunching over the computer, always sitting and kind of hunching like this. So the back and shoulders. So a lot of people have this crank neck, right? Like tech neck, I've heard it called as well. So you're always like this in a chair looking down. And it doesn't even get better when we get up and we're walking around staring at our phones like this too, right? So, I mean, it's constant. We're always in this kind of slouched forward position and we never get into this nice straight posture. And again, that's the other kind of the opposite side of that, is people talking about natural and neutral spine and position and trying to find this perfect posture. There isn't that either, right? There's kind of somewhere in between where we have this comfortable position that we need to find. And until you have that strong base and understand your body, it's almost like you're always fighting it, right? You're either in this really compromised, weak position, or you're one of these guys that's trying to fight and get better into this posture, and you're fighting it instead of just having this natural, comfortable way to live and sit.
That reminds me of I believe it was Jordan Peterson who talked about it in his book, and it's when, as humans, if we are always approaching the world and moving in this closed off state, what it actually does psychologically is similar to, you know, when people say you should just smile and it's going to make you feel better, it causes this chemical reaction. I don't want to say what chemicals it is, I don't know. But you get more positive. It's similar to if you like approach the world with an open chest, you're not afraid of what's going to come. People look at you with more respect. They look at you with like, you know, this guy's brave. He has pride. But also, if you just force yourself into a happier position, or rather a more open position, you'll become more happy, less fearful, more confident, just naturally by practicing this. So spending all day like this, I would imagine it affects our collective psyche of how we interact with the world and people.
Totally. Absolutely right. So, I mean, you bring on a whole other can of worms, right? Like just how the world perceives you by your body posture and your language, your body language, right? Like that makes a big difference in how people approach you. But then even to compound that, so now we're stuck in a chair looking at a screen, and we're probably looking at something that's most likely frustrating us or stimulating our mind, right? Whether it's on Instagram, something exciting, or maybe an email from the boss that you don't really like that's bothering you, and you're in this compromised position. You look at this difficult or frustrating situation, and then you start to kind of hyperventilate, you start to overbreathe, and you don't even realize that you're getting into the sympathetic state. You're into this threat mode. And we all live there far too often. And we're always in this threat mode, always feeling like we're under attack. Our posture's compromised, our breathing becomes compromised. And it's just this constant loop of discomfort and driving our body into a negative state. And similar to what you were saying, how you bring that on, right? You bring on positivity. If you spread positivity, more positivity seems to come your way. It's going to be the same with that negative situation. So if you're not breathing right, you have this poor posture, you're sitting in your chair. When you get in your car, you get out of your car, you go into your office, you sit in your chair, and you get out of your chair and you go back in your car and you drive home, and then you come home and you sit in your chair and you eat dinner. You get up and you sit in your chair and you watch Netflix. There's a lot of bad stuff going on there. And then we think we're going to go to the gym for an hour, maybe a day, maybe 4 times a week. Somebody goes an hour, so 4 hours a week to make up for all that sedentary life in the zoo.
My question was that if you have somebody who recognizes that they're in this compromised position and that they have a lifestyle that puts them in that compromised position a lot, how do you make sure that person doesn't go too far where they're just like cranking themselves into extension all day and trying to compensate that way?
So I would recommend, it depends on the person. It always depends on the individual and the status when I'm meeting them, and then their goal, right? So if your simple goal was somebody I'm always a sedentary lifestyle, I want to just get out of the habit of always slouching, I would have you set an alarm on your phone. Every hour, have an alarm that goes off. And all you do is put your computer aside, put your phone aside, take 5 or 10 minutes to yourself, and I would teach you a simple breathing exercise. And it wouldn't be a matter of trying to jack yourself up into this perfect posture. It would be trying to relax, just trying to find a natural position and learning to control your breath and slowing the breath down and touching onto that parasympathetic side of the nervous system, allowing yourself to relax, calm down, take 5 minutes to yourself, and then go back to work. And you'll notice you would naturally be a little bit more straight and calm. Maybe after another hour or two, you're going to start to kind of slouch down. Boom, the alarm goes off again. Take 3-5 minutes, whatever it takes, every hour or so until it becomes more of a natural thing. And over time, what ends up happening is as you feel yourself get frustrated or in a difficult situation, you can just take 30 seconds to, kind of close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, calming breaths, slow breaths, and all of a sudden your mind is calm again and you can really attack the situation in a comfortable spot.
I think you're really outlining that proactive approach where you're kind of in work mode and you're taking those breaks throughout. My question is that, do you do anything kind of before you start working or after, or is it something where you've built up the system and this process where you don't even need kind of a warm-up ritual? And the reason that I asked this is because about a month ago, I started doing this really light stretching / yoga routine before I started sitting down on my computer to work. And I found that I just felt so much more comfortable jumping into work. Like my body, especially my lower back, my hips, like you said earlier, like there wasn't that tightness. So the question was like, do you have kind of a kickstart almost ritual before you start working? Or is that just something that you don't do?
Absolutely. It almost has evolved into, it gets crazier by the day sometimes. But over the years, I've built a morning ritual and now I have an evening ritual that I enjoy. I truly enjoy it. And it consists of some breath work, some meditation for a few minutes. And then I do a full body mobility kind of check-in. And that's just running through the main joints. So I move my neck around, I'll move my middle spine, I'll move my low back, I'll move my shoulders in different ways, I'll move my hips in different ways, knees and ankles. And I'm good to start the day, right? My spine too, I missed that one. That's the most important one, but I move my spine around. And then I start my day. I'm not worried what's going to happen if I take the dog for a walk and he yanks on my arm. My body's prepared for it, right? If I'm sitting at the chair for a few hours, my body will be okay with it. Or if I want to get my workout in first thing, my body's ready for that as well. So that's become kind of my go-to thing. At night, I do similar. It's a lot less movement based. It's more breathing and meditative to help me kind of get into that deep sleep state, that theta state. Yeah.
So I want to transition to usually we have creatives on this podcast. We have, videographers, graphic designers, and also like marketers, like people in the space of, creating content that leads to sales. And it's kind of like what we're doing, you and I, Dave, for your website. So I wanted to like take it to, you work with athletes mainly to optimize their life and their performance, but sometimes it's important for creatives to look at like their job and what they do like they're an athlete. You learn new techniques, you apply them, and then it's this cycle of learning and applying, similar to an athlete. How can people like optimize their life so that they can work happier, longer, and more effectively day to day? Because I think a lot of people deal with productivity issues.
Yeah, I think everything starts with the breath. No matter what you are, elite level athlete or somebody that just wants to be better at your day job, it starts with the breath. And almost everyone I work with, when we do a first assessment, they have a breathing disorder. They have some kind of breathing disorder or breathing dysfunction. Your cognitive space is relying on your breath, right? Your mind-body connection is that breath. And it doesn't necessarily have to be some meditative or mindfulness practice. And I know a lot of men kind of veer away from that. And athletes I work with, the creative space, they might be way more open to it. But really, it's just a matter of connecting with that breath, understanding how to control it, extending the exhales when necessary, and doing some different exercises to really connect with yourself and understand where you are. And that'll improve everything, I find. I mean, it's the most basic motor pattern we do is breathing, right? If you can't breathe properly, you're not moving properly. If you're not moving properly, you're probably not sleeping properly, right? If you're not breathing properly, you're not sleeping properly for sure. And if you're not sleeping properly, you're definitely not thinking creatively and going to be as effective at your job.
I kind of look at that. It's like, let's fix our breathing. But what's so challenging about that, and it's similar to, I know that some people walk wrong. They walk with like their feet out like this, whereas you should be more centered in because you can hurt your hips, your knees. But the problem is when we breathe roughly like 20,000 times a day, I think you told me, or is that anywhere from 12 to 20? I forget the exact
Well, it
number.
depends. Well, the average is so huge because the people all breathe so much differently, right? The average person is usually around 20 breaths per minute, which is like 29,000 breaths a day. Ideally, as humans, we should be at 6 breaths per minute. I say that, but I'm not there. But that's ideally where we should be, which puts us at like 9,000 breaths a day. That's a difference of 22,000 breaths. That's huge. That's crazy if you think about it every single day. Now, why that's important? When you're bringing breath in through your mouth, you should be bringing in through your nose. So as you're breathing in through your nose, it's going to go through your sinus cavity. It's going to come down. It doesn't touch your lungs until it gets down here. So you're not converting any of that oxygen until it actually hits your lungs. And in fact, the bottom parts of your lungs, where they're the biggest, is where you're going to have the best gas exchange. That's why you'll hear people always say, try to breathe deep and use that diaphragm to pull the air down low, right? From here to here is about 150 milliliters of oxygen that's never going to hit your lungs. So if you're doing 22,000 extra breaths with 150 milliliters of wasted oxygen, pretty significant. Pretty significant.
But what's so hard to train that is let's just say I meet you, I'm a 20-year-old kid. I've been breathing shallow for 20 years.
Yeah.
So 29,000 breaths a day times 365. I don't know the math, but it's like
it's huge.
Millions and millions and millions of breaths.
Yeah.
That builds a repetition that I don't know if you crack even within a year of practice to get.
You would be surprised how fast you can start bringing it down. Really, when it comes to breathing, there's three main pillars. There's the biochemistry. So we just quickly talked about the gas exchange, right? The oxygen and the carbon dioxide and how that changes. There's the mechanics of your breathing, right? So the muscles, the diaphragm is the main one that pulls the lungs down, but there's all the intercostal and the ribs and all these other kind of muscles that are helping with breath as well, right? So that's the mechanics of it. And then there's the cadence, what we're talking about, the respiratory rate. So how often are you bringing that air in and out of your lungs, right? So those are kind of the three main things that will help with your breathing. The most important thing to bring those three kind of all together, the one thing that overlaps all three of those is nasal breathing, is making sure we're using our nose. That's as much as possible. That's during physical exercise. That's during sleep, to a point where maybe even taping your mouth at night to ensure that you are using your nose. And a lot of people hear that and they think it's crazy, but it's changed my sleep dramatically. So that's kind of the thing. I when I first start working with athletes and clients, it's nasal breathing. First, can you breathe through your nose? And a lot of them can't. And that's where we start then. We start to do nose blocking exercises and understanding why maybe they can't. Think about a hockey player and their noses. Most of them can't breathe through their nose when I meet them.
Even at a young age.
Oh yeah. Like I had a deviated septum, which just means this bone is crooked, right? So if you've got smacked in the nose once, you probably have a deviated septum. Almost the entire population has deviated septum. So we're not breathing properly. We're not using our nose.
So just bring it back to like the creative sense. So it starts with the breathing, but I can definitely relate to that because I had the surgery for my deviated septum. Always had trouble breathing. It's really good now, but I can definitely feel like it's kind of coming back into that space of like sometimes it's a bit clogged, not from mucus, but it's from probably the turbinoids, which are these bones that are in your nose that inflame and deflame all day. But like, what do you say to people who, I can speak personally, where sometimes I wake up and, I know I have to do all this editing and I'm sitting down. I'm a very active person. Like I get energized when I'm moving and touching. That's just like my personality. Whereas I know some people, they can sit all day and it's fine. Mm-hmm. Like what are things that someone like me can do where I sit down and I'm editing and it's good for like 2 hours, maybe an hour. And then I start to get this like mental fatigue. And it's not like I ate a whole bunch of like crappy food. I'm drinking water. I'm sipping on coffee. Like I'm not necessarily unhealthy in that regard, but I'm losing that like mental edge when I'm sitting.
So I'd have to know what your respiratory system status is, right? So I would do a quick assessment with you and I could give you different exercises depending on like where you are, right? Like, are you prone to panic attacks or do you have anxiety at all? That would be important to know, right? I don't think you're pregnant, but if you're pregnant, I definitely wouldn't have you doing any breath holds, right? So those are some of the things. I do a test on them. It's on my clients. It's called a BOLT score. And it's basically just testing their base oxygen level test. That's what that stands for. And once I understand where your base oxygen test is and your sensitivity to carbon dioxide, then we can structure certain exercises. So you're probably relatively healthy. We could probably do some breath holds, but it would be some very simple breath holds, 5 consecutive breath holds, and your mind would be razor sharp, ready to go. And there's some really minor stuff you could do with people that, maybe have asthma or aren't as healthy as yourself, where you can do 5-second breath holds. It'd be like gentle breaths in and out, couple breaths in and out, and then you're just holding your nose for 5 seconds, pinching your nose, holding your breath for 5 seconds, and then come back to normal breathing. And you do that for 3 or 4 minutes, and you'd be surprised how clear your mind gets. And even that is great for unblocking the nose too. That very gentle 5-second breath holds while you're pinching your nose.
I love that. I just want to kind of expand on that question that Will asked. I think that a lot of the people that I meet don't even have the awareness around, I feel great when I start. We can call that a 10 out of 10 focus, energy, clarity, however you want to describe that. But they have very little awareness when that energy or focus slips. How important would you say that awareness piece is to just being able to see, like, oh, I need to take a breath right now. Oh, I need to take 30 seconds or a minute just to kind of get myself in order. Is that awareness? Do you see when clients come to you that awareness piece is lacking, and kind of where does that figure into the training piece?
Absolutely. That's a great question, because that's something everyone struggles with, myself included. When I first started experimenting with breath work and digging kind of deeper into it, I was nowhere. I thought I had a healthy respiratory system. I had trained my whole life. I started doing assessments on myself and realizing I had a breathing dysfunction. I had stuff to work on, lots of stuff to work on. I have since. But directly to your question, when I first started exploring, the awareness of the breath came to play. I started to really become aware of the breath in certain situations. And that's where the changes really started to come into play. So what I mean by that is, maybe you're in a difficult situation in a meeting or something stressful. I started to check in on my breath. I'd be like, oh, wow, I'm kind of overbreathing. Okay, calm down. And as I could slow my breath, I found I was becoming more methodical with my thinking, and I was able to kind of slow down the situation. I'm noticing that when I play hockey now too, when I get on the ice. I mean, I never tell my athletes to try and worry about your breathing while you're playing, but when we come to the bench, I try to help them calm it. But I'm on the ice and I'm trying to, wow, I'm breathing, like I could feel myself really panting. And when I would have moments, I kind of check in and I slow it down, close my mouth, and all of a sudden the game starts to kind of slow down a little bit too. It's this awareness. And I mean, even during sex, you can notice it. Start to catch your breath, right? Slow your breath. You want to be a champ in the sack? Learn how to control your breath, right? When you're coming near climax, if you can slow that breath, you can control the world. So, I mean, yeah, that awareness is key to training. And when the clients can start to tap in on it, you see the progress just starts to, the trajectory goes, yeah, absolutely.
How important would you say the interplay between awareness and just your posture is? Because if you're in that kind of compromised position, I would imagine that it's even harder to kind of right yourself. So what's the interplay between kind of the biomechanics and having that awareness component as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are kind of intertied. Sometimes people are more aware of their posture lacking, and then they can check in with their breath. Again, it depends on the individual, but a lot of times what I do is when I work with people, I do functional breath work with the movement. So we may have them bring their arm, like, so let's say you're somebody that's always crouched like this. Maybe we have you bring your arms behind your head, nice breath in, and then as you exhale, pull into that flexion, right? Learn how to inhale with extension, getting longer through the spine, and exhale as you flex and pull down and push the air out of the body, right? Maybe twisting as you inhale, coming back to square as we exhale, inhale, right? So I would work with the muscle and the tissue and the breath. We find it really allows to open things up, because now the diaphragm and all these breathing muscles, they're key for posture. They're key for stability. Like if you think of a weightlifter, right? When they grab that snatch and they pull that weight right up overhead, what are they? They're holding their breath, right? So and they hold that breath, they lock it in their abdomen, right? That diaphragm's locked in place. It's holding them stable. If they were to let go of that air, boom, their spine's going to crumble and they're going to fall under that weight. So it's learning how to use that stability and the mechanics of the breath for an athlete, but also learning how to just kind of take that mechanics in the breathing and understand how to get longer as we breathe in and let it shrink as you exhale. And it does a world of difference, that mechanics. Absolutely.
Well, like hearing this, I'm like, this is how you optimize, and it totally makes sense. But then I look at a lot of guys that we know who are like incredible, like really creative. They're not active people. They're not necessarily the healthiest people, um, but yet they make such good work consistently. I don't know if they necessarily deal with a lot of stress and anxiety. It just seems like they can really perform and be productive in a state of, suboptimal human performance. Like, what is it? Just a matter of pushing through those, feeling like crap? Are they used to it? Do they even need to become like, do they even need all this like breathing and training? Like, can you speak to that?
I think some people, win the genetic lottery too, right? Like some people are just born naturally with abilities beyond others, right? Some of the best athletes, if you look at their facial structure, they're going to have a huge sinus cavity. They're going to have these big noses and big nostrils that can pull in air very well. All the best track athletes, right? They have this genetic inheritance to pull in air way better than everyone else. They have these big, long, giant legs to run faster than everyone else. Some of these people that are just throwing out amazing creative works, they may just have this inherent ability to focus, this inherent ability to, maybe their breath is already very effective and they're calm and they're in the zone. I mean, there's a lot of genetics that are involved in this as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then how your environment growing up, the foods you ate when you were little, how your body kind of changed as you got older will play against those genetics and how they express themselves as well.
So if the kind of big three for somebody that's kind of in the position that Will described, where they're like, I don't really like, I work at a computer, being an athlete or even treating my body well isn't my job. If you looked at the big three of sleep, nutrition, and exercise slash just kind of getting the body moving, what would be the lowest hanging fruit for each of those items to see like a quick win?
Breath work, which number one, yeah. So I mean, my motto is breathe, move, eat, sleep, and love. Those are kind of my pillars to health. I mean, if you're not breathing right, you're not doing anything else right. You're not moving right. You're not going to be eating right because you're not going to oxidize your food, right? It takes oxygen to metabolize your food. So you're not going to be eating properly, even if you're eating healthy food. And you're certainly not sleeping right if you're not breathing. So first and foremost, how are you breathing? And what can we do to make sure you're breathing effectively, right? Then we can look at movement patterns, different types of exercises, maybe that individual prefers, what their goals are. And then you can look at what's the food? What are we eating? What are we fueling our body with? How are we, you want to go and do exercises? Well, what kind of food are you supporting your body with? If you're just going to be sitting at a chair all day, you probably shouldn't be putting all kinds of heavy calories on you, right? If you're not going to be active at all. And then are we getting to sleep under a good hour? Are we staring at our screen right before we go to bed, right? Are we getting all kinds of cortisol dumped in our mind right before we go to bed, right? Are we thinking mindfully before we go to sleep? Like those are kind of the pillars. Lowest hanging fruit, breath for sure. And then lastly, I say love simply because we got to do what we love. We got to be around the people we love. And then we can take all these other things, getting outside in the sun and enjoying life kind of falls into that last, I don't want to call it the last bucket, but kind of the big bucket.
I love the statement you're saying about love, because I found during this pandemic, so like pre-pandemic, I was working like a madman. It was like all day, almost every single day. I'd have like Sundays off for sure, but it just felt like it was always going. But I had this like, I don't know, this energy to keep on going. And I never felt this like, lethargic, like I don't want to wake up and do these things, because I felt like I had things, what I believe is I had things in my life that I loved, such as playing hockey. I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'd see different friends in different scenarios. And it was this like diverse life of like work, play, socialization. And with the pandemic hitting, like I've lost all those like things I've loved, and I can notice my productivity and my work life has just plummeted. Like it hits 4 p.m., 5 p.m. There's something switches in my head where I'm like, I'm just not happy. Like I don't like what I'm doing. I don't want to do anything. I just want to go like sit down or lie in my bed and do nothing. Like, is there a way to like, hack that? I mean, a part of it's the cold weather, can't go outside, but it just feels like if you don't have things that are external outside of the work or your passion, like other hobbies, like it just feels like if you don't have that love, you can't even be productive. You can't even enjoy what you're doing in the slightest.
We're a tribal species, right? We're a communal species. We need to have people that we are a part of, and not just our family that live in our house, right? Not just the people we go to work with, but tribe, like you said, playing hockey and doing these things you enjoy, going to jujitsu, like those are your tribes, right? Like you go and you meet with these people and they have the same interests as you. I think this pandemic has been incredibly unhealthy for everyone in so many ways, especially on the mental health front. I mean, they are talking about it a little bit, but it's been so detrimental to the youth, especially the younger kids. Like I have a daughter who's 7, and watching them go through this it's been so sad. Like my son, I have a son who's almost 2. We went into the toy store yesterday, and he's grabbing his jacket and he's trying to cover his face to fit in. It's like this. I mean, it's just this. It's this weird time, man. But I think that's it. You've hit the nail on the head. That's what you're missing. You're missing that kind of communal support, that camaraderie that you were used to having. And I think we need to have that as a species, as humans. Some of the things you can do to maybe make up for it is getting out in the sun. So now this nicer weather hopefully is going to, help with that, getting out and feeling the sun. But get out on the grass, take your shoes off, walk on the grass, feel the earth on your feet, be grounded, be part of the earth, right? Do some of those types of things. I mean,
Can
I
we
think
talk
that will
about
help.
that?
Yeah.
Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, but I love that. So I actually heard this comedian, Whitney Cummings, talk about, she read a book where when humans' bare feet touch grass, there's like a chemical reaction in your brain that we've lost through wearing these like thick soles, and not just the thick soles on our shoes, but also walking on concrete. Do you know what exactly is it when a human's feet touch grass? Because I do notice a difference, and I don't know if that's me just being a granola, North American, like, ooh, kind of person, but like
No,
what?
there's all kinds of science behind it. There isn't any specifics I can talk to, but you're actually grounding to the earth, right? Like, so it's not necessarily just grass, it's dirt. It's as long as you're on earth, right? So you can walk on the sand on the beach, right? Grass, as long as you're connecting to earth, you're going to have that kind of relaxation feel. There's all kinds of science behind it. There's so many different studies. I mean, but really it's 5 or 10 minutes walking on the grass or on some earth every day, and it makes so much difference. You can buy grounding mats that you can sleep with. You literally plug it into your outlet, which just goes to earth ground, right? Down in your electrical panel downstairs. And it's a blanket that sits under your mattress that you sleep on. You can
So
get
it's
grounding mats for your feet that, like, while you're working, you can have it and take your shoes off and you put your feet on this mat while you're sitting there at your desk, and you're grounded through the earth. Yeah.
So it's not just that it's earth and grass, it's that there's like a magnetic electrical
You
field
got
that
it.
everyone knows that
Yeah.
exists in the world that
That's
we're
what you're
connected
connecting to. That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
so
I'm always a
interesting.
natural guy, so I don't have any of those I've never tried a grounding mat. But I know they exist. But I get outside, man. Even the winter. As soon as the snow is gone, I'm on my bare feet in the grass. Yeah.
That's what I did last summer. Was whenever I felt like I had some mental fatigue, and last summer I was like big into like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been big into like cartwheels, handstands, push-ups, like just trying to like the monkey crawls, all these things, like I find open my body up and my brain up. And I would just go out for like 10, 15 minutes, do handstands,
I love it.
sit cross-legged in like grass, just kind of like take that mental
Beautiful.
break, listen to some music, a podcast or whatever. And it definitely reset me. But when this winter hit, I'm just in this apartment, just
Yeah. Makes it
talking to my
hard.
girlfriend or whatever. It's real
Yeah.
tough. And
Totally.
Mose, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I wanted to dive into the outdoor exercise piece of that. Do you make it a point? I don't know what your training schedule is like, but do you make it a point to work out outside at any point in the week? How much of a focus is that?
During the winter, not as often. I try to get a run in here or there where I can, but in the summer, every time I can, I'm always outside in the sun trying to train. Yeah, shirt off, as much vitamin D as I can get. Like, I'm that weird neighbor that walks down the street with his shirt off. I don't care. I'm getting vitamin D. But yeah, I love it as often as possible. Even in the rain, I love it. I do Zoom sessions with my clients all the time, and I'm like out in the backyard. I don't know if they hate it or not, but shirtless training them. I don't care. Yeah, I do what I preach. That's for sure.
I love that. And I just kind of want to talk about also, you recently reached out to me and Max, we actually had on the podcast too. Max and I do a lot of video work together and photo, and you reach out to us and you want to, you're making the website, you want to get more content ready and out there. Like, can you just talk about that transition? Like, why are you like wanting to reach out and like start doing online video marketing in a different way? Because I know you've been doing it the whole time, but like,
Mhm.
what's this transition? Can you speak to why you want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, over the pandemic, so I've worked a long time in engineering technology. That was my career for over 12 years. I was with a big corporation, and as the pandemic happened, I was out of a job. I no longer was employed. Now, over the last, I would say, 20 years or so, I've been completely obsessed with health and wellness. Completely obsessed. It started with nutrition, and I started doing my own research and diving deep into that. And like I said, I kept getting back to kind of the ancestral roots, so on and so forth. Well, as the time has passed, athletes in my network that I've known over the years kept reaching out to me, wanted to work with me doing different things. So I kind of had two jobs for a long time. My real love is clearly working in the health and wellness industry. But I had a great job and I was working at a great company, and I was very happy with that. And I've been doing that for quite some time. I'd done a lot of traveling with them, and it was, I was doing quite well with them. It was good. Well, as the pandemic kind of happened and the company started downsizing, it became kind of the most perfect opportunity for me to dive full board into this career. So here I am, completely dedicated to helping people with their health. And yeah, I'm building my website so I can kind of start building a community and understand what some of my clients really want and expect from me, and I can build a business around that. So that's kind of where we are right now. Yeah.
And just like you've been dabbling your toes in that first video shoot. Have you done one before, like photo and video like that?
No, that was my first time. You can tell.
I mean, it went pretty well. But like, what are some of like what are like your thoughts going into it? Because I think, did you grow up like when you got Instagram the first time? Like, how old were you and where were you in life? Like, was it like this weird thing you want to jump on?
So Instagram is weird. Yeah, Instagram. I didn't never had Facebook. I was that. I'm 41 years old, so I'm just ahead of kind of the real techie. Like I never made MySpace or anything. I was like refused to get Facebook. As I got a little older and I worked with so many athletes, I was working with so many people, and people kept asking me questions about things. People would see me in the gym and ask me this or ask me that. I'd be like, what? I'm going to start posting random videos, and I could just send people to my Instagram. So that's kind of how it started. And it's not like I'm popular on Instagram in any way, but it started to get a little bit of a following. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. I started enjoying it. I started posting more and more videos. Then I had to open a Facebook account because Instagram kind of makes you. And so now it's like been a slow transition. So Instagram was just strictly out of, just passion for movement. And a lot of the stuff I post is really just movement stuff. Sometimes you'll find some nutrition and some breath work in maybe my stories, but it's mostly just movement for now. But I think that's going to have to evolve as things come live here with the programs and such.
And do you think you want to take it to a place where you are this like on-air talent, where you're not necessarily presenting, but like you're a person where people go to Dave to learn from Dave as this like online personality that's educating? Like, do you think you want to go there, or do you kind of want to go for that more, you just have the course and the social media helps you advertise that?
To be honest, I'm still trying to figure out where the long-term path is. And I kind of want to let clients dictate that for me, right? I mean, we're going to see where the main interests are. But right now, so my website is going to essentially have, some free mobility videos that people can go on and kind of just follow along if they want. There's going to be some free breathing assessment tools and ways they can kind of understand where their respiratory system is. And there's going to be some free kind of functional competence and different things you can incorporate into your life. And that's all going to be just available there. Then there's also going to be the opportunity if they want to work with me through mobility or breath work, or if they want to do full programs like health and wellness programs. So that's all going to be available on the website. As people start to come and traffic hopefully starts to increase, we'll see kind of where the interest is. I mean, me personally, I just love doing this. I enjoy it. I have such a passion for it, and I just want to share it. So we'll see who wants to receive the news, I guess, and then we'll build the business around that.
Just to clarify there, so you have the website and the work, and then in terms of products, people can work either directly with you or take a course. That's kind of how I understood it?
Yeah, even the courses would be working with me. So if you were to take like a 12-week program with me, you'd have 2 classes a week with me. One would be for mobility and one would be for functional competence, meaning nutrition, lifestyle, and how we can kind of make sure you're kind of crossing all the T's and dotting the I's throughout your life and your objectives and the goals, and see what we would need to try to achieve after that 12-week program. So yeah, we'd sit down first, do an evaluation, figure out where we're at, what the main objectives are, and then we would check in kind of weekly have different educational focuses as we work through different breathing and mobility and adjustments based on the objectives and the individual. So even that would be working directly with me. Yeah.
So Mose, I wonder if like this could be like something that could be marketed to not just athletes, which is primarily a lot of the people you work with, Dave, from my understanding is athletes. Like I wonder how many, you know, creative people or just regular people could benefit from this, but they don't realize that, you know, I feel like some people look at these programs and they go, this is what, you know, a high performance athlete would do. But like, how do you market it to just everyday people or creative people or whatever? Because I think you'd benefit like tenfold of whatever the cost would be. I think it's just investing in yourself with this would change everything. But it's like, how do you market it to them?
I'm trying to give people tools to go and be a healthy human, right? Not to have to work with Dave forever, right? You know, it's not like you pay me forever. It's like, here's a whole bunch of tools you can take to go be the best you can be, right? Like that's the idea that I'm trying to build. What I'm noticing though right away is because I work with so many young athletes, I work with a lot of youth athletes, their parents are going to benefit from these full programs tremendously. And I eventually hope maybe I could do some family programs where we have, you know, parents with their children and how we can kind of incorporate this across an entire family and change, you know, really change lives instead of just, you know, one or two elite level athletes, right? Like how can we help the greater population? Yeah.
I have a follow-up to that. Will was talking about how I think wellness has become definitely more top of mind with the pandemic. In terms of your client base and who you're working with right now, have you personally seen an uptake in non-athletes coming to you to advice, or has it just been kind of mostly that core audience of I'm a youth athlete or I'm just somebody who wants to improve my body?
I wouldn't say it has been a tremendous uptick, but I have seen a few new clients that are, you know, outside of the athlete realm. Yeah. Yeah. Couple of ladies that and a couple of dads that I've been working with recently. That's been it's enjoyable too. It's different, right? I enjoy it a lot, man. Yeah.
Well, I've one last question. I just want to talk about the cow, the notorious cow that you have. I don't know if you're legally allowed to, like, is this something you actually talk about on the podcast?
I could talk about it. I'm allowed legally to have a cow. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I know that there is a law that you can't, or the FDA, I don't know what the Canadian thing is.
Are you going down the milk hole? Is this where
the milk hole? Because I was telling Mose about this. I'm like, Dave needs to tell Mose about this because it's so like random and cool. Because I love this idea. You can't legally buy or drink. I think you can legally drink, but you can't legally buy raw cow milk, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
You found a little loophole.
Well, I didn't personally find it, but so if you're interested in ancestral living, anybody, look up Weston A. Price. He was a dentist about 100 years ago that traveled the world and kind of figured out this ancestral way of living was what was keeping all these tribes all over the world healthy, keeping their teeth straight and all kinds of cool stuff. So look him up. Why I bring him up is because on their website is where you can find sources for this type of thing. So I found a farmer local to me that's willing to provide raw milk. So I called up the farmer and we got talking. I drove out to the farm to meet the farmer. Mr. Farmer Ian, is really dry sense of humor. I try to get him to smile every time I go, but I'm not always successful. So we went out and I met him and he explained to me the only way he can sell me milk was if I bought a share in his herd. So I had to buy a cow share. So technically I'm a part owner of a cow. So I had to buy 5 years. So for 5 years, I'm a part owner of a cow in his herd. And that allows me to consume the milk from my cow. So legally in Canada, he's not allowed to sell milk, but I'm actually consuming milk from my cow because I own a share of the cow. So when I go, I can get raw milk. So for my son, who's not 2 years old yet, he drinks all this raw milk that's not pasteurized, that's full of vitamins and nutrients, full of all the fat soluble vitamin A, vitamin D, right? All the vitamin K, all the stuff that gets burned away when they pasteurize it. So all the real good stuff. I also get raw cream from him. And then I can make my raw butter. Oh, it's so good. So, I mean, I get my pasture raised eggs from him. So I will go and I say hi to my chickens while I watch them eating bugs before he brings me 6 cartons of giant eggs that are all different colors and speckled and what eggs are supposed to look like from the farm. So yeah, that's where we go weekly to go get our dairy.
It's also a good way to get shoulders like Dave, where you churn your own butter. It's a great workout. You know, you get the full core and thoracic spine workout, and this is how you get the gains. You gotta farm your own goods to buy.
You got it.
This has been amazing. I love these kind of conversations. I could tell Mose is really into it too. Is there any last question you want to ask Mose, or can we wrap here?
Yeah, my last question. So you've gone from I didn't know this beforehand before the interview, but you went from working in a very stable career in engineering, and then have since been trying to build this business. In that journey so far, like what is that one lesson that's been most useful for your journey?
I would say do what you love. Like, I mean, I wish I did this 10 years ago. I wish I did this 15 years ago. I wish I went to school for sports science and not engineering. So, I mean, my advice would be find what you love and don't be scared to jump both feet in right away. Like, do it. Do it. There should be nothing holding you back, especially if you're young and creative.
That's great. Thanks so much for coming on. Can you please plug anything that you want to plug on the podcast, and then we can wrap up?
I guess, yeah, just find me on Instagram for now. The website's not quite live yet, so I don't want to send people there, but BMC, that's Beast Move City. So BMC_mayor on Instagram. And yeah, shoot me any questions anytime. Send people over there, and I'm happy to answer questions anytime.
All right, great guys. Everyone give Dave a follow on social media. It's really good stuff. Thanks for listening. Make sure to check us out on YouTube, Instagram, every single platform. It's Render Repeat Podcast. We'll be back next week with you guys with a new episode. See ya.